From Wish TV and the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is the News 8 Daily 8 Podcast with Wish TV's Kylie Conway. A Wish TV News 8 update.
Hi, this is Kylie Conway, and this is your News 8 Daily 8 for Tuesday, December 20th. We've been under a weather alert all morning long. If you're watching Daybreak, you might have heard some of what we're going to be dealing with later on this week. Joining me right now, thank you, Marcus Bailey. Appreciate your time. You've been watching this system for a couple days now, and it's getting to be a pretty clear picture that it's not going to be great.
No, and a lot of it has to do with timing, Kylie. Mm-hmm. And I mean, obviously, a lot of people want to look at snow totals, and we kind of have a broad brush here, but there are probably three phases in this that are going to cause major impact for travelers, for people that are doing stuff for the holiday weekend. All right. So let me kind of give you the quick rundown. Thursday is when this begins, and that's when the winter storm watch will kick off, Thursday evening specifically. Right now, we're leaning toward a rainy start, and then at some point Thursday evening, you're going to get a quick transition, very sharp transition from rain to snow, and probably pretty heavy. And then Thursday overnight into Friday, it's very heavy snow. Friday is going to be an extremely difficult day to travel, and I want to stress that. Not only because we'll have heavy snow, accumulating snow, but we'll have wind gusts up to 50 miles per hour, 50, and that could lead out to whiteout conditions on top of snow sticking and falling and very difficult travel. And then you're going to be talking about brutally cold temperatures, single digits for temperatures, wind chills 15 to 25 below. I think we'll taper off some of that snow by Friday night. It becomes a bit lighter, but you're still very blustery, very cold, and that will carry over into Christmas Eve morning. And then the cold will be the story for both Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So again, we really want to drive home. Friday is going to be an extremely difficult day for travel. We don't use the term blizzard very much because the true definition of a blizzard has nothing to do with how much snow accumulates. It's the rate of snow with winds 35 miles per hour or more, and visibility is less than a quarter of a mile for 3 hours or more. That's the definition of a blizzard, and that may end up applying on Friday specifically, so something to watch.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been reading some chatter about it, and to your point, it's not the amount of snow that's falling. It's how the conditions come together to just be difficult to navigate.
Well, and to complicate that mathematical equation is the amount of people that may be on the road on Friday to get to their destination for the holiday weekend. And so that makes things even more difficult. I've lived here long enough to know that even 1 inch of snow on a high volume type of travel day can create chaos.
Yeah.
And so I think we're going to get a little more than that, just kind of as an early push for snow accum. We're at 3 to 6 inches right now around the metro, higher amounts in northern Indiana. But again, I mean, even if we're on the low end of that and you're talking 50, 55 mile per hour wind gusts, that's whiteout conditions. It's very difficult travel. That's going to be the cause for concern.
This is a nightmare, honestly. We've dealt with some winter weather already, but the snow that we've had and some of the conditions, it happened when the pavement really wasn't that cold yet.
Right.
And then some of the frigid cold weather we've had, we didn't get any precipitation.
Right.
So we've been really lucky so far. And we know what happens no matter how long people have lived in these states that deal with this. The first time that the frigid temperatures collide with the snow or the black ice. And now it's this one of the biggest travel weekends of the year.
And that's the concern, because you've got a lot of people that may be coming in that aren't familiar with the area, people that are going out of town. You're just going to have more people on the road and more unusual times. And so, again, that's what complicates this equation, because you could have a 6-inch snow at 1 a.m. on a work week.
Right.
And it's probably not going to create as many problems as it would if you had a 1-inch snow at 5 p.m. on a Friday night, because it's rush hour. And so because this will be kind of an all day, especially first half of your Friday, but I think mainly an all day thing, certainly with the wind and then the heavy snow for the first half of the day. A lot of people are going to be trying to get that jump on, Friday morning travel. And I think that's where it's going to be. It's going to be very difficult.
So when do you suggest people leave if their schedule is flexible at all? Are you saying Wednesday, maybe Thursday morning if they can?
Earlier or later? So I'm thinking, and if you can Wednesday, I think you're fine. Now, the more west you go, that's when you start running into the storm a bit, because this will extend all the way to the northern plains. Illinois, Iowa, Missouri, Wisconsin. I mean, there's a lot of states that are going to be dealing with this here.
And certainly to the location, what you're talking about, if you're driving north for the holidays, like the Chicago area, that's even worse.
Correct. Yeah. And I think that's the way we're leaning. And again, we're going to you have to iron the details out a little bit in terms of heaviest snow, where that's going to set up. That's not set in stone. But as it appears now, the farther north you go, the bigger the issues you're going to have. Certainly off of Lake Michigan. So South Bend travel, anywhere along the lake in western Michigan, yes. Chicago, yes. Up around through Milwaukee, Green Bay, you're surrounding yourself by that lake. You're going to have, more increased lake effect snow chances there. But yes, north in general, Michigan probably will get hit harder than, say, most of us here in Indiana. But still, again, a high impact storm, regardless if you see 2 inches or you see 12 inches. When you got those winds kind of whipping around. And then add to that the cold. I mean, I'm also worried about power outages, something that we haven't even mentioned.
Right.
50, 55 mile per hour winds that can knock out power. And then you're talking about wind chills 20 to 30 below Saturday morning. That's not a good recipe at all.
Have some contingency plans.
That's right.
How can people stay, for the people listening right now, how can they stay in the know as you keep tracking these models getting closer to the day?
Right. So I actually have my own podcast as well that we'll update, and I'll kind of get more in detail about it. That's called Weather Weekly. You can search that here on the podcast network. We'll be updating social media. Me, Tara, Stephanie, Ashley, Ryan will all be kind of just filling everybody in, as we get more updates. And then, of course, we're on air at Wish TV. WishTV.com's got updates, and our Storm Track 8 weather app is free and has all our updates as well.
All right, Marcus. Thank you.
Thank you. Stay safe.
Me too. And as for today, weather-wise, it's not going to be bad. Maybe mostly cloudy throughout the day, gloomy. That's the worst part of today's scenario. Highs are going to top out in the upper 30s, so that's actually near normal for this time of year. Not a bad winter day in store for your Tuesday. We did have some breaking news in the overnight hours. Lawmakers unveiled a massive spending package to avert a government shutdown at the end of the week. Senate and House negotiators released the 4,000-page, $1.7 trillion spending bill just before 2 o'clock this morning. It includes another round of aid for Ukraine, a nearly 10% boost in defense spending, and about $40 billion to help communities recovering from natural disasters. There were several key measures not included: legislation to allow cannabis companies to bank their cash reserves, and corporate and individual tax breaks. Senate leaders hope to pass the bill by Thursday, then send it to the House. It needs President Biden's signature before Friday's deadline. The decision to bring criminal charges against former President Donald Trump is now in the hands of the Justice Department. The January 6th panel recommended 4 charges during its final public hearing yesterday. The charges are conspiracy to defraud the United States, obstruction of an official proceeding of Congress, conspiracy to make a false statement, and aiding an insurrection. The panel says Trump holds direct responsibility for summoning what became a violent mob and refused pleas from his aides to condemn the rioters. The committee's chairman says it's calling for accountability for the former president.
We've never had a president of the United States stir up a violent attempt to block the transfer of power. I believe nearly 2 years later, this is still a time of reflection and reckoning. If we are to survive as a nation of laws and democracy, this can never happen again.
The panel also recommended 2 criminal charges against Trump lawyer John Eastman. It also voted to approve its final report, which includes findings from more than 1,000 interviews and 1 million documents. A summary made public found that Trump engaged in a multi-part conspiracy to overturn the 2020 election. The full report is set to be released tomorrow. The Supreme Court is temporarily blocking an order that would lift pandemic-era restrictions on migrants. Title 42 started under the Trump administration and has since turned back hundreds of thousands of asylum seekers at the border. The policy was set to expire tomorrow, but the High Court has put a temporary hold on it, leaving the rule in place for now. Communities along the southern border have been bracing for an influx of migrants. The Supreme Court ruling is temporary. The justices want to hear the government's response by this evening before issuing a final decision. And from our Indiana politics team here at Wish TV, a new poll is providing insight into who voters could be favoring in the state's 2024 Senate and governor races. According to Bellwether Research, out of the potential candidates in the poll, Mitch Daniels would lead the GOP field for the Senate race with 32%. That's more than triple the nearest competitor, Representative Jim Banks. That poll ran a second time and excluded Daniels. In that circumstance, most votes went for Attorney General Todd Rokita at 16%. However, 39% of those asked said that they weren't sure who they'd vote for. Now, for the race for the possible field for governor, current Senator Mike Bronson's atop with 25%. He's followed by Rokita and current Lieutenant Governor Suzanne Crouch. In that poll, 40% of the people said that they were unsure who they'd vote for. And it was a split decision for Harvey Weinstein. A jury in California convicted him for crimes against one of 4 women accusing him of sexual abuses. The jury found the former movie executive guilty of rape and 2 other sex crimes committed against an actor and model known as Jane Doe No. 1. The jury could not reach a unanimous verdict on charges connected to 3 other women, including California's current First Lady. Weinstein is already serving a 23-year sentence in New York. He faces up to 24 more in California. Protesters are showing their support for their preferred candidate as the search for the next CEO of the Indianapolis Public Library System continues. Dozens of people voiced their opinions during last night's board meeting. They tell News 8 they want Nichelle Hayes in the position. She held the interim position for 9 months, but was not selected to take the job permanently. The board chose a different candidate earlier this month, but he turned down the job after public backlash. The board is maintaining its position to continue the search for the next CEO in 2023. Jose Salinas says he'll continue to serve as board president until the end of the year. He says incoming president Hope Tribble will begin managing the search for a new CEO starting next year. New plans for an old grocery store have some people worried. They fear construction will further snarl traffic in a busy spot. The old Marsh store just off of US 31 in Westfield hasn't had a permanent tenant since the supermarket chain shut down more than 5 years ago. It's one of 44 former Marsh locations that IT Mate covered in May. In the time since the Westfield store shut down, countless people have used the parking lot in front of the store as an unmarked and unregulated cut-through for traffic. Google Maps even highlights it as a route for some directions. Academy Sports is set to be the new tenant, and the renovation work has led to a construction trailer and fencing around the parking lot. A spokesperson for the city tells ITMate the contractor planned to close the parking lot this week, but the change could be delayed until after the holiday weekend. Westfield says the road that runs in front of the store will close for 8 months during the redevelopment, with a return to normal sometime late next summer. An Indiana man has died in a fall from a tree stand. The Department of Natural Resources says it happened Saturday in Morgan Monroe State Forest. Kevin Leach was from Heltonville. Conservation officers say he was deer hunting when his tree stand malfunctioned and he fell. They say another hunter found him and alerted authorities. The DNR is urging hunters to use a full-body safety harness in tree stands. The agency says Leach was not wearing one. The drug take-back program of the Spencer Police Department is suspended indefinitely as an officer faces charges. As we've reported, Sergeant James Deckard is accused of stealing drugs from a drug take-back box. ITMate reports that investigators have seized the box as evidence. Right now, a small sign is in its place directing people to take their unused and expired medications to the Spencer CVS or Bloomington Hospital, and syringes can be taken to the Owen County Health Department. As for Deckard, the police department says the town public safety board will prepare a report for the town council ahead of a decision on his future. A new study shows homicides are the leading cause of death in children, and rates are rising. According to data published yesterday in the JAMA Pediatrics Journal, the overall rate has increased just more than 4% each year for nearly a decade. The study points out an especially large increase from 2019 to 2020. It says rates rose nearly 28% in that year alone. Researchers say firearm-related homicides of children rose nearly 48% that year. According to the overall data, firearms were the most common weapon used. It also shows black boys were killed more often than any other group. A spike in demand has 2 major drugstore chains limiting purchases of children's pain relief medicine. CVS says it's limiting both in-person and online purchases to 2 products. Walgreens is limiting online purchases to 6 products, but it doesn't have an in-store purchase limit. The Consumer Healthcare Products Association reports that sales of pediatric pain relievers are up 65% over this time last year because of the jump in cases of flu, RSV, and COVID. To business headlines now. 46% of American workers will look for a new job in 2023 despite economic uncertainty. Consulting firm Robert Half International says younger workers, those under 25, are the most likely to look for a new gig. Meanwhile, the average American is willing to put themselves through 2 years of education to make a career switch. The GP and OnePoll survey results revealed nearly a quarter would be willing to do more than 3 years of training if it opened more doors in their career search. Retailers say they're updating their payment systems in store as shoppers return to brick and mortar. The focus is to offer the seamless experience that shoppers are used to online. E-commerce is now 16.4% of all retail shopping, down from 18.8% at the height of the pandemic. That's according to the National Retail Federation. Epic Games, maker of the hit video game Fortnite, has agreed to pay a total of $520 million to settle U.S. government allegations that it misled millions of players, including children and teens, into making unintended purchases and that it violated a landmark federal children's privacy law. As part of the agreement, Epic will pay $275 million to the U.S. government to resolve claims it violated the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. Disney shares hit a 52-week low after James Cameron's Avatar, The Way of Water, fell short of box office expectations over the weekend. While the film brought in $134 million over the weekend, it was less than the $175 million expected. Disney stock is down more than 40% in the past year. More than 75% of Americans expect to spend less on New Year's plans compared to last year, and 1 in 3 people are planning to make a finance-related New Year's resolution for 2023. It's according to a new Wallet Hub survey. People's top New Year money resolutions are to save more money, pay off 20% of credit card debt, and improve credit scores. Pacers Entertainment and the Indiana State Fair are teaming up for the 2023 fair, the state that grew the game. That's the theme next summer. Fairgoers will see the theme utilized throughout multiple interactive experiences, including a basketball amusement park and daily storytelling. The 2023 Indiana State Fair returns July 28th and runs through August 20th. And remember, you can catch the Colts Monday Night Football primetime matchup against the Chargers on Wish TV. We will have special coverage all day with Sports Director Anthony Calhoun and his team, followed by kickoff at 8:15. This has been your News 8 Daily 8 for Wish TV. I'm Kylie Conway, online at wishtv.com, and follow us on Facebook when you search Wish TV.
This is the News 8 Daily 8 podcast with Wish TV's Kylie Conway. A Wish TV News 8 update on demand for even more on demand and on the go. Connect with Wish TV on Facebook at wishtv.com and on the free Wish TV mobile app. Thank you for listening, and be sure to like, subscribe, and follow this podcast for updates every weekday morning on the All Indiana Podcast Network and wherever you get your podcast.